if you don't have a skimmer, where do you put your pump? Now, bottom of the pond, it's a pretty obvious solution. Stick the pump in the bottom of the pond, you're going to get great circulation. But there's a couple potential problems with that. Number one, if the pump clogs, which it can because that's where most of your sediment's going to be, you can burn up your pump. Now, the solution to that is to have a pump that can handle solids, solids handling pump. And there are pumps out there that can pump golf balls through them without clogging. That's one solution. You could also put some netting around your pump, buy a pump protector or a pump cage. The protectors are normally netting. The bottom is kind of a ring that has, it's like some lead or some kind of a weight to keep it at the bottom. Then your pump goes in, and the top is more of a floating ring, so it keeps the net up. Those are pretty inexpensive ways to do it. And there's also some plastic cages, basically, that anything that can fit through the cage can fit through your pump, so you don't have to worry about it clogging. Now, the other problem you could run into with your pump at the bottom of your pond is what happens if you get the dreaded waterfall leak, which, if your pond's losing water, it's probably from the waterfall. And man, I've seen some horrible situations where, you've got everything working great, and all of a sudden, you've got your hose sticking up and a rock on it, something shifts, a cat jumps up there, and anything messes with your pond, all of a sudden that hose falls back. Man, your pump's at the bottom of your pond is going to empty. You're going to come out to an empty pond, a flooded yard, dead fish, and probably a burnout pump. So that's kind of a problem, The other thing that can happen is, say even if you don't have a waterfall system, your filter could clog. You could have a sort of a filter system that could clog and cause it to overflow. So you're using a gravity return type of filter. And that is easy to happen, and even in situations where you wouldn't think there's any chance of it clogging, I ran into that with cold weather. We got a cold snap coming out of the blue. I hadn't turned the filters off, and because of the way it was circulating in my filter, somehow it froze. The outlet froze, but the inlet didn't, and all of a sudden I'm emptying the pond in winter, which just sucks. So that can kill your fish and burn out your pump doing that also. Now, one way to, at least protect the fish part of things is to raise the pump up just a bit. Even a milk carton, if you put a milk carton in there, put the pump right on top of the milk carton, one of the plastic milk cartons, I'm not talking about, the kind you pour the milk out of, but that's going to give you a great spot to put your pump. Still get a pretty good amount of circulation, but in case of a major problem, at least you don't empty the pond and you have a chance to save your fish. The other thing that milk carton will do for you, if you have smaller koi, or smaller fish of any kind, if you have a raccoon problem, those fish can go in there and hide. Or if you've got some small fish and it looks like, the bigger ones are picking on them, ramming them, of course then it's mating season, the little guys can go in there and hide, give them a spot to hide. So, there's no problem with putting your pump down low. I wouldn't go all the way to the bottom though. And I would also double check anytime you're running a pump. If you have some kind of a cutoff switch available, something that's going to shut that pump off in case of it gets hot, overheating, be sure and spend, it's usually an extra few bucks to have some kind of protection, thermal overload protection on your pump.